around the building, but the accounting career fair is coming up in about 10 days, so it's on September the 7th from 12 to 3 p.m. I believe your classes or accounting classes will be canceled that day, so you should have plenty of time to come to the event and spend as much time as you want. But as of today, like an hour ago, there's 36 employers that are coming to that event, recruiting specifically accounting and finance students. So it's the ideal time to come for interns. They're looking for interns, full-time opportunities as well. So September 7th, 12 to 3. To be eligible, you have to complete a Prepare for the Fair workshop. It is in Blackboard. It is live. You should be able to see it under your courses. So while you're here today and in class or at the end of class, if you want to check to make sure you can see it, it's in your My Courses and it says College Business Fall 2022 Prepare for the Fair workshop, right? So you're just gonna go there. There's about a 12-minute video that you need to watch. Gives you instructions on how to get there, kind of the details of the event itself. And then there's a quiz that should take you about 5 minutes to fill out. That quiz is imperative because the information that you give on that quiz helps us and me make your name tag for the event. So let's say if your name is Jonathan, but you go by John, you can put John on your quiz so your name tag corresponds to what you'd like to be called at that event. So you have to do that workshop, watch the video, complete the quiz. So you can do that now. It's live. It will stay live until the day of the event. Please do not do it at 10 a.m. the day of the fair. You won't have a printed name tag if you do that. You need to have it done really the night before so that you have a printed name tag and you're not walking around with a handwritten name tag and stand out like a sore thumb amongst everybody else who has a printed name tag. So go online, check your Blackboard. If you cannot see it, I can write my email up here, send me an email. All I need from you is your first and last name and your Missouri State login to get you added to the course. So very easy for me to add you in there. But very, very simple, shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to do. Any questions about what you need to do? Okay, and we'll walk through in the video how to get there, the professional dress requirements. That's a huge emphasis as well. So there's a professional dress requirement. We will ask you to go back to your dorm or your apartment and change if you don't show up appropriately, so please take that seriously as well. The biggest thing there is you must have a suit jacket. Everybody coming has to have a suit jacket. So that's what we'll be looking for in comparison and some other things as well. So any questions at all, I'll write my email so you can check your Blackboard and shoot me an email today, and I'll get you added this afternoon if you're not in the course already. Yes?
Are there still requirements that the suit jacket and the pants have to match?
Great question. In the past, yes, but now no. Coordinating color, right? So don't wear black pants and a bright red jacket, but if you want to wear something that coordinates is fine. It does not need to be a true like suit, so to speak, but it just needs to coordinate. Look professional, right? You're making a great first appearance for these firms that are there, so you want to look professional in nature. So coordinating color is going to be the key there. Yes, good question. And we'll talk more about that in the workshop too. Dr. Roselle speaks to that professional dress requirement. Okay, I'll write my email. Check your Blackboard. If you can't see it, shoot me an email and I'll get you added today or tomorrow as soon as I hear from you. And that's all I got. Okay, thank you. I'll write my email right up here.
Thank you, Mary Grace.
Yes, of course.
Mary Grace is a great resource.
It's a busy time. This is probably not going to be big enough at all. That's okay. Do you need a copy before I?
No, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
I will say Mary Grace is a great resource for me as well, so she's a great resource for everybody.
Mary Grace is amazing.
I don't know about that, but I try.
I spent a lot of time with her at recruiting events.
At recruiting
and stuff.
events, yes.
All right, so yeah, you know how to run it from here. It's
Yeah.
up there. This is Katie Folk. She is from KPM. She's awesome. We have lots of fun. She always does a great presentation for you guys, so please pay attention. Please be prepared to ask her some questions at the end if you want. I would really appreciate you guys asking some questions. You guys are going to have to get used to using your voices. That is the one thing that I find that students coming into this class are not used to doing yet. So let's get used to using our voices and actually speaking up when we need to. So.
Also, I'm super easy to talk
Yeah,
to. So.
she's super great. So.
Yeah, it's a great time to ask any questions. So, as Mr. Gooden said, I'm Katie Folk. I'm from KPM. It's a local CPA firm here in Springfield. Just a little bit of my background. I've been at KPM a little over 7 years. I've experienced 8 busy tax season coming up on my 9th. Thank you. My career has taken a little bit of a shift within the last year in the way that I am moving into more of an HR geared position and working in recruiting and talent acquisition and retention. And so I get to get in front of students like you and be a resource to you. So I'm absolutely loving that. I do have my CPA designation. I manage tax clients as well, and am very busy in the first quarter of the year. So let's get into what recruiting season is going to look like for you. So a lot of you might feel like this gal right here. I will say that MSU does a great job preparing you. I can see that reflected in the students that are really polished when they come to the career fair. So I can tell who's listened to resources like Mary Grace and who's listened in classes such as this. It really is reflective of your appearance and presentation at the career fair. And so you are ahead of the game in that regard too. So I'm not going to go into a lot of dress code type things. I'm going to go into maybe public accounting specific, give you some insight on what KPM is looking for and some of the nuances of my firm as well. So campus recruiting is traditionally early in the fall semester. As you know, it's happening September 7th is your career fair, and there's a lot, sounds like, gearing up to that to get you ready. So I'm going to go over what firms are looking for. I'm going to talk about what you might be looking for, even though you might not know what you're looking for yet, just some cues for you. And then just kind of how in the heck is this all going to go down, right? It seems like a big process. Some of you may be really early on in it. Some of you may have been through one of these seasons before. And so it's all hopefully relevant information for you. For campus recruiting, you want to start researching the firms you're interested in and review open positions in Handshake. So luckily for you, Missouri State utilizes that platform. We have our positions posted on Handshake already, as do many other local, national, regional firms as well. And so you'll also want to think about, where do I want to work? Do I want to work at a local firm? Do I want to work regionally, nationally, even internationally? There's really a lot of options when it comes to this degree. And so I think you'll find that when you start doing your research. What type of internship you're looking for. If you're looking into a CPA firm, a lot of internships are held in the spring and potentially year round. Summer internships are available, but they're probably a little fewer and far between, and you'll just find that simply based on the business model of a CPA firm. That January through April time period is really busy for them, and so that's when they can really utilize an intern and when interns can really learn a lot. But kind of know what you have available if you've got school athletics or if you've got another job right now and it just won't work for one of those time periods. Be able to speak intelligently about what you will be looking for in the way of a time frame for an internship. So you also might not know this right now, but you can start thinking about if you want to look at audit, tax, or consulting. And so at my firm, we are full service, and so we have all those types of internships available. Maybe you're open, and I almost think that's the better way to go, especially if you can get a couple of internships, one of each variety, to give you some exposure, because what you learn in class can vary drastically from real world application, just in the way of how it feels and what it looks like. You are all learning really great things in school, but corporate culture and things of that nature, you can really find if you can get a couple of internships under your belt. If you don't have time for that, that's fine. Maybe you've identified with a class that you really like. I heard somebody say tax is awesome. I thought the same thing when I was in school. And I had my schooling here. I loved Dr. Tassin's tax classes. And so that led me to want to get into tax when I started my career. Also, are you willing or able to take a semester off to intern? Some firms do have a really high hours requirement, much like what you would feel the hour requirements as a staff at a firm. I am not a big fan of taking a full semester off for an internship because I feel like you lose momentum and school is tough. And so if you take an intern or a summer semester off and then start earning good money, it might feel a little bit difficult to get back into school. But I know MSU has historically, and I believe they still do, offer a class where you get credit hours so you can take a reduced load and take on a part-time internship. So that would probably be a more ideal situation for an academic and career balance at your point at the stage of this game. And then starting your resume. Who in here has their resume already? Also, wow, have you done that already in class?
Oh no.
Okay.
They don't realize that that's probably about to get trashed.
Oh, well. Anyway, I will talk just briefly about that. I know that you go over that extensively here, but you certainly won't want to be bringing an old resume, and I'm sure you have plans in this class to get all that ready for the career fair. Just making sure that that's accurate, updated, and has really good relevant information on it. Okay, do attend the career day. Sounds like you don't have a choice, but that's an okay thing too. It's September 7th for all of you for the School of Accountancy Career Fair. I will be there, and sounds like 35 other employers. So you're going to get a really great opportunity to get in front of some folks, speak with them, talk to them about your goals. One thing I recommend is having your elevator speech ready. Does anybody know what an elevator speech is? Any experience with that? Okay, I'm not sure if it's a dated term, but it's one that I always use. It just is a quick blurb about yourself. And typically, you know, in my example, I could say, my name is Katie Fulp. I'm a senior at MSU. I'm an accounting major, and I'm enrolled in the MAC program. My anticipated graduation date is X, and I'm looking for a spring audit internship. So it can be as simple as that. When we get to the interview process, it can involve a little bit more, but it's kind of nice having that prepared a little bit in advance. It makes it a little more comfortable. Also, that initial conversation can feel a little fumbly and awkward. So if you've got that initial elevator speech ready, you're kind of ahead of the game. Sign up for interviews through Handshake. I recommend doing this ASAP and definitely no later than the career fair. So our jobs are already posted. I imagine there's a lot of employers out there with jobs posted already. And as those slots fill up and become kind of a time constraint problem with your schedule, that's going to happen the longer you wait. And so as you're doing your research and you see a position you're interested in, you should be able to read about the position, do some research on the company, and I encourage you to sign up for interviews. On-campus interviews are generally through the 4th week of December. I'll be on campus on the 9th and the 14th, just to give you an idea of how early those can happen. They can happen later, so starting your homework and doing your research now is highly recommended. And then in-office interviews typically last through the 1st week of October. That just gives them a timeline to get those offers sent out and be competitive with other businesses in the area. KPM is holding their interview September 20th. So just an idea of timeline. Okay, the offer process. In coordination with the timeline I just went over, the offers are likely to come in late September or early October. I highly recommend sending a follow-up thank you, and I'll go into this in just a little bit, but know that given such a tight timeline, I enjoy getting email thank yous just as much as handwritten thank yous. But the snail mail can take some time, and so what I recommend to students is don't be afraid to send that thank you email as a follow-up. I have received some really detailed, nice thank you follow-up emails. So don't worry if you don't feel like the handwritten note is going to make it on time. Go ahead and send the email. Also, don't accept the first offer you receive. Like I said, you are learning an incredible amount. This is a difficult major. You are going to be marketable with your degree, especially if you have plans to sit for the CPA exam. So just know that it is likely that you will get more than one offer. Based on your hard work, you deserve to weigh all of your options. So try not to accept the first offer that comes along. It could be a dream job, and maybe that's fine. I've always wanted to work for X company. I've got an offer, I'm going to go ahead and accept it. But don't accept it necessarily out of fear that you won't get another opportunity. I definitely recommend weighing your options. And in the case of an employer asking for an answer, don't be afraid to say, hey, can I have just a few more days? Can I have another week? They'll usually work with you, especially if they're really interested in you. Any questions about the offer process?
What is the best time to send a thank you letter? Like after the day you go to interview, or as soon as after the interview?
I think if you mean the day after you interview, are you talking on campus versus in office, or are you?
Yes.
Okay. Anytime you interview, I feel like it's probably appropriate to send a thank you, especially if you're really interested in the position. Mm-hmm. Certainly make sure you're doing it if you get to the in-office, kind of that second stage interview. Make sure that's something that you're following up with.
So sometimes we send a thank you letter. It's just like to mention the interviews. Hey, do you remember me? How about the positions? Do I get offer from the job? Do you think we have to send another, like the second thank you letter after the days later if we didn't get any reply from the job?
You know, I think, and you probably have guidance on this as well. After you interview, if you send it that day or the day after, just expressing your appreciation, it's not always asking the question of whether or not you're considered for the position, but just letting them know that you did appreciate your time. Here are some things that I learned in the interview that I really think I'll enjoy about your company. Are we okay there?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the perspective I would come from, is just appreciating their time interviewing you and maybe detailing some things that you learned in the interview that you feel like would be a good fit for you. Yeah, and I know that students are also tempted, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea to follow up and say, hey, we interviewed, or just checking on the status, kind of an additional expressing your interest. Did that answer your question? Yeah. Good. What are recruiters looking for? And this resume cafe is supposed to be on the next slide, so sorry about that. Candidates who are articulate, polished, informed, confident but not arrogant. I had an interviewee tell me that she was coachable and curious. I loved that combination of things, meaning I'm ready to learn and I'm really curious about the learning. And so kind of finding that balance of, being confident and expressing an air of confidence, but also knowing that, hey, I'm here to learn too. That you've taken your academic career seriously. That's going to be reflected in your GPA. It's going to be reflected in the way you talk about your future plans. And so kind of have that in mind. Display demonstrated ability to multitask, reflected also in your resume about holding down part-time jobs, volunteerism, extracurricular activities. And then from my perspective, that you're legitimately interested in a career in public accounting. Resumes. So back to this slide. Resume Cafe is held on 2 dates this year, August 31st and September 6th. You may have all of that covered in this class because it sounds like you have a session on your resumes. But if you want to come by and get somebody else's perspective or have another set of eyes on it, please come see me or one of the other participants in that. There will be a nice group of professionals there that can take a look at your resume as well. Okay, don't worry on your resume if you don't have a ton of experience. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide because I know you covered this a lot. We know that you're early in your academic career and you likely have very little job experience. But what you express on there, you want to make sure it's clean. It's all about the facts, they're current and they're relevant. I'll let Mr. Gooden give you guidance on GPA kind of parameters, when to include it, when not to. When are you going to graduate? What kind of computer skills do you have? Things like that. Just making sure that the formatting is good, the spelling is good. Those are all really important first steps, and try to avoid getting too fancy and putting your photograph on there. So things like that to keep in mind. I'm sure you'll go over with him as well. Okay, the interview, and when I talk about this, it could be on campus or it could be in office. Have your elevator speech ready. This might be where you get maybe identify ahead of time some more personal details that you're willing to share. So from my perspective, I might say, my name is Katie Fulp. I'm from a small town in Southwest Missouri. I come from a family of 5. I was raised on a farm, and I spent my academic career at MSU. When those employers ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, that just prevents you from kind of rambling and it's sharing details that you might not feel comfortable with in retrospect. And so just kind of having that balance in that elevator speech of what you would say in that interview setting. Again, be proud and humble. Do your homework and know something about the firm you're working with. Most companies will have a website that you can do a lot of research on. One of my favorite questions, and that I lead with quite a bit, especially in phone interviews, is tell me what you know about KPM. So you'd be surprised at the depth of knowledge and also the lack of knowledge. And so be on the good side of that and have done your research. Thank you notes, again, email is fine. And then during the interview, listen. You are also interviewing that firm. You want to know if they're a company that you want to work for. So listen to what they have to say. Make sure you're picking up on the details about the position, the firm, information that's important to you. And just a little bit about KPM. I won't spend too much time here, but we are one of the top 2 biggest firms in Southwest Missouri. We're a full service firm, so we offer tax, audit, consulting, controllership type services, and then we do also have a wealth advisory division. I've listed some of our accolades, and probably one of the most proud things on there for me is our Philanthropic Business of the Year, because one thing you'll notice if you go to our website, we are really into community involvement. Here's some pictures from some of our community events at Day of Caring. We support our not-for-profits not only monetarily with our volunteer hours, but also when they hold their fundraising events. We go with our dollars and our commitment there, and as you can see, we can get kind of dressed up and have some fun. Okay.